In your books, I've got a list of items. I really don't want to call it an agenda, but it's a list. Brewery and blight ordinances. Bill called me about 10 minutes ago. He spent all day in court, did 9 cases. He has just spent and asked that we look at the possibility of doing a special meeting on this, particularly the blight ordinance that he distributed at the meeting last week, or last month. So if you don't mind, I'll schedule that sometime in the future. I'll schedule a work session for that. David Hall, update on water line installation, Appalachian Court to Twin Lakes Road. 3 things. That, potential New Cove Road well, and our June 15th meeting with Entegra. You will have in your book a letter from Ben outlining what we talked about at the meeting. And I think you may have some comments on that too, David.
Yeah, we had talked about, the council already approved the expansion of the wastewater plant. Doubling the size of the wastewater plant. Ben has some ideas here on some numbers that me and Jim had talked about, and I think we'd agreed that these numbers were pretty much out there, higher than probably any of the council had, or had anticipated. So we had talked about maybe getting Ben back for another meeting, and I'm sure Lisa would appreciate this, maybe trying to hold it down below 5 million versus 8.7. A lot of this stuff we can do. Do they have copies of this?
Yeah.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, they have a copy of Ben's letter. It's the 3rd page.
Yeah, 3rd page. Well,
Third. All the way to
That's
the
it.
front.
yeah.
Perfect.
And
Well, the 3rd page starts it. I think David's leading you on to the last page of
the actual costing,
Yeah.
the actual money part. Me and the mayor talked before too, that, we think it's a good idea, to clean and televise the sewer system to see, what we need to do. But I think that's something that we could do in-house. And once it was done, then we could look at repairing whatever we could repair before going into a $2.4 million project to rehabilitate the collection system. And on the water plant, or the wastewater plant side, I think we could hold those costs back from that 6.2 million. I think there's a few things involved in the construction that we can hold off on to until, the city gets for sure that we're gonna grow and actually need, the doubling of the permit, or let them pay for it. Like the mayor's done basically in his whole tenure is it's basically been paid by the people coming in, not the people already here. And that's what we'd like to do with this project too, be able to keep it down to the point to where the people paying will be the people coming versus the people already here. So, I guess without jumping my authority, Jim, what is?
Well, I think what I heard you say, we've approved this. All we've approved has been doing the engineering and starting the permit process, if I remember right. We haven't approved any construction money or anything. So I didn't want people to get scared we'd already spent this.
Okay. I think we have actually already approved.
How much did we approve?
I think we only did the engineering part too.
What do you think we approved?
Mayor?
Dave?
Do you feel, I thought that
No, we've not approved anything. We've approved Ben to proceed. And he's supposed to proceed and come in, and all this supposed to be presented to council.
Okay,
At that time it'd be approved. No,
okay.
I'd already moved.
What was we drinking?
So that's something we'll have to bring Ben back in on, yeah, because I mean, 6.2 million, I mean, we've just spent 2 million down there, so we should be able to get that back down below 5, and all the rest of it, as the mayor's always done in the past, I think we can do most of that. Besides the camera, now they'll have to come in and do the camera and stuff and tell us what we need to fix and where it's at. Sort of like the leak detection people done with the same kind of camera and stuff, I think would be, you know, we might can do some of it, but most of it probably be better contracted out to do. They have better cameras, better equipment and stuff to do. Like I say, some of the smaller lines we might could do, you know, in-house.
David, if you will, if I might, Jim, address the council the only thing that concerned me, the 8 million scares me, 6 million scares me, but they're only going to give us 50% of the permit increase that we anticipated. Explain what's going on there for the council.
Yeah, with the amount of growth that the city has showed, now Jim showed them a thing the other day from, who?
Gateway.
JR, McLaughlin with Gateway.
That hopefully they're gonna have maybe up to 700 homes, but it's 50-50, well, the EPD won't take that. It's gotta be a for sure thing before they're ever gonna jump on and give us a full 1.68 permit. They only wanna give us the 1.2. And that's the reason I think too is it's crazy to go ahead and spend this kind of money, without having the full extent of it give to us. But, you know, a 5 million upgrade for 400,000 gallons of sewer is, you know, to me, you know, I know it's a lot of money, but it'd be worthwhile because it will still allow us to continue to move forward. Because right now, we're at a point where we've got to decide, okay, you know, we're gonna close the door or what we're gonna do because we're almost at permit. So, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, continue to move forward or, you know, completely, you know, just turn away some people. So, I think the first two were 90%, right? I mean, that might be something they might sit down and they would talk to you about, but they're not gonna talk about a 50-50 giving you, you know. But the thing is you'll already be set up and in line, even with the $5 million upgrade, to where you can pursue that. That's something that, you know, Gateway, if that's what they want to do, they'll be able to pursue. With what we've got down there right now, we can't handle 700 homes. There's just no way.
So if growth, the lack of growth is, you know, reflected on the newspaper article too, which said that our lack of growth was endangering our ability to get a permit. How can we expect growth to pay for it if we can't even get it to grow?
That's the question, you know, how much, you know, when you look at the 5 million part, I mean, I think we've had some growth this year, right? I mean, we've had some revenue from growth already this year and anticipate more through Gateway and other things that will come. If you keep, and this is over 30 years, right? 30 to 40 year long, you're anticipating, you know, some growth enough to pay that payment.
Right.
You know, but are you gonna have enough? I mean, I don't know, but, you know, if you don't continue to move forward, then it's, you know the answer.
Well, I want to move forward. I was surprised to, that the stance seemed to be that you hadn't grown enough, so we're not gonna let you grow.
Yeah, and that's
That's the catch to the whole thing.
that's the way they tell us. I mean, that even the overall outlook for Pickens County has been cut back substantially. You know, the growth numbers that they have. Who was it, Ben that told us that Friday? Was that right, Lisa?
Yeah, Ben told us that.
Yeah, so, I mean,
To what?
I don't remember.
I don't know if he gave a percent or anything.
He had said their numbers were way down on their projections for Pickens County. And then in turn, you know, whenever they look at this permit, they're like, well, how can you justify, you know, 1.68 when you're not even, you know, growing enough to even be able to say really at the 1.2 right now. But if we don't go ahead and build and get ready, then it's never gonna happen.
Do they use the same numbers that the DCA uses?
Yes. Yes, that's where the number, that's what I understood, that he said that's where the numbers come from. So I'm saying, yeah, the 8.7 million is crazy, but maybe the, you know, if we can cut this down as much as we can, back down to about 5 is what me and the mayor had talked about to begin with, right? Mayor, was around 5.
Well, I wanted to do the $8 million and do the complete job, and you kind of want to cut it back, and we kind of just discussed both ways.
Okay.
And I don't believe I don't see on here anyway, the potential for land application, which is probably where the future really lies. And that would be working with the Arrowhead Country Club and doing basically their watering process. Of course, we've not had meetings with them, but every time in the past I would discuss it with Jeff Dobson, he was interested because they're having difficulty getting withdrawal permits for the future. That's something that we'll probably get more permit than we would by discharging back into the stream.
Oh, yeah, if you were to do that, there's no doubt. I mean, the cost would be more, but yes.
Would that be a significant use?
That would be, I think all the water needs, if it's taken out, needs to be discharged back into the stream, because I think just yesterday there was a settlement in the Supreme Court of the United States of America that Florida was going to be looked at again as far as water wars are concerned. And when that happens, they're really going to restrict what we can do in North Georgia. So now that's thinking far ahead, looking far ahead, but that's what they did yesterday. And so land application is when you land apply, that means it evaporates. Discharging helps fill up the lakes, and it goes down to Apalachicola where they want to take care of their oysters.
Well, we have some more work to do on this, and we'll schedule some more meetings. And
Well, Ben's got you a schedule, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I guess if they want us to vote the schedule. Like David said, there's going to be a lot of drag time, but once we commit, might be some expense if we have to decide to bail out. But we're going to have to pull the trigger if we anticipate any growth, because we've been working that 0.8 for a long time. And the only thing upset me about it, we're going to spend this kind of money and not get the full 0.8 again. And because that's our plan to double the capacity. But David said, down the road, we got the apparatus in place, we can always apply for the application. I think that's what the EPD wants, because they ultimately will say no more growth, and they mean it when they say it, they won't give you a permit.
Especially for North Georgia, they want it all inside that 285. I mean, anything north, everybody's bang on them. Canton's going to do the same thing. I mean, everybody was, they're trying for 5 million instead of.
Yeah, that's what's amazing, is the larger cities south of us talk about multi-millions, and we're talking about multi-thousands.
Yes, very.
John, did I hear you say you wanted to go for a whole ticket?
I think the amount of work that's going to be involved and engineering costs is going to be there. I think we would just be wasting time to cut it in half. And also shoot for the land application. And if we can negotiate a deal with the golf course. There's plenty of pasture land around, and reuse is out of the question. I'd rather do land application for the cost. Reuse, you'd have to have a subdivision and put it back on their lawns. But that's
Pretty difficult.
That's something. I wanted. Do you have a screen press on this, David? This don't even have a screen press. They're still having to haul off and filter the water for this. We're still doing it the old-fashioned way. We've held the cost down for years by what's the name of the dumpster we use? Turbo. We've been turboing our sewer for a long time. Most people have got screen press. It gives them a dry product and they're able to haul it off. And still clean out a lot of drying beds, I guess, so.
Yeah.
And with this rain, you're not doing much of anything.
Well, everybody got a
Turbo
landfill.
in it, turbo in it.
The landfill shut down.
Is it really?
Yeah, they've had so much rain
Can't
there.
even get in and out.
Well, they had a spill, it rained so much it started leaching out of their landfill into the ponds. So now all their ponds are filled with leachate.
What we doing with garbage?
They're still taking ours.
Yeah, they're still taking, like I say, they've, you know, the ones that they're pretty much contracted to do, they're still doing, or EPD's allowing them to do it.
Okay.
They've got one pond where 3 million gallons worth of leachate in it.
You gonna be able to treat that when they turn it loose?
No, we're full now too. That's why I told Jim earlier when we come in.
He's backing them up.
The past 3 days have killed us. I mean, it's just, that's what kills us, is rain after rain after rain. The ground, you know, Mayor, how when the ground gets so saturated, those manholes are gonna start leaching water into. This is, the ground's saturated so deep. Yeah, we're gonna have to, we've talked to them about taking off until July 5th, the day after the 4th, to give us, to try to get some dilution in the pond, switch back around.
So if I remember correctly, and I certainly may not, but it seemed like when we first started talking about this a little over a year ago, we were hoping to do a lot of inside work and it was gonna cost us $4 million. And then when we met with Ben, we had already jumped up to $6 million. And he said he thought it'd be more along the lines of $8 million.
So that was.
Sounds like we've doubled our costs in a year.
Yeah, it was only the meeting that we had, the one that me and Jim and Lisa
Last week. or 2 weeks
obtained,
ago.
yeah, and that's where the 2.7 or 2.487 come from. That was the first time that, you know, we had really discussed that, I think, was that meeting. So that's where that part come from. And,
So before that, we were at 6.2.
yes,
What's our demand today?
2.7.
We got 100,000 gallons to play with. And another 100,000 gallons, we'll have to tell our developers, no.
Yeah.
Be under consent order. So here's what we've talked about in the past. It's gonna be, do we as a council believe that the economy is gonna grow and we're gonna prosper? After watching Trump's presentation last night, I'm all ready to roll the dice. He's ready to cut back on regulations, and 1 or 2 regulations have shut down a lot of projects in Jasper, EPD regulations and everyone else. So I believe if we ever had the opportunity to go for it, now would be the time. Any other president in this country right now, I'd say no.
Phosphorus.
And I'm not campaigning, I'm
The
just telling
phosphorus
you what I see.
regulation cost this small town of Jasper $2 million.
And I believe they'll ultimately stop that when they realize they're gonna put small towns out of business and we won't be refrigerating, because that's insane. But those things what scares us more than anything else.
Yes.
I think particularly on the EPD side, the federal government's gonna loosen up on it.
Well, they already are, quite a bit. But with that, would tell me that we could go for this, and that would get us double the size of our system today, and that will probably be the end of the growth in Jasper, which could be a blessing by that time. So our population by that time would probably be in the county and the city, 40,000, 50,000 people.
I think the capsule when the comprehensive plan first started was in that range, 40,000. I want to think it was in 2040 or 2050.
And this would be a crowded county because we're small for that size.
So funding for this 8 million is going to be mostly borrowing?
Here's the catch. If growth don't happen, our existing customers, those who are on city sewer today, will quadruple in price. And if we'd have done this in '07 when we were looking at these numbers first time, over the last 10 years, we would have been rebelled against by the cost of sewer and water in Jasper, because no contractor would have helped us with growth. And but now I believe our citizens would appreciate the fact that we're willing to take an opportunity now with the economy, hopefully maybe as prosperous as it's going to be.
That's the loans and stuff there.
Okay, do we want to talk about this Monday night? we do, Ben does ask that we approve or authorize loan and grant application. That really doesn't cost us,
I believe it would be a good time and really move forward with it.
and it really doesn't cost us anything.
Just more of an expense to our engineer.
Yeah. I'll put that on the agenda.
Very good rates, 2.9%.
Yeah.
And that's hard to beat.
On the treatment side, it's even better than that, isn't it? On the cost if we're conserving.
Okay. David, I don't know which one you want to do next, Appalachian Court or Cove Road?
Appalachian Court, all we have received all the pipe material, and we have all of that in hand, and we're waiting for, the guy to come and do the tap on Appalachian Court, and also waiting for the weather to let up just a little bit before we go stopping through people's yard. So hopefully the weather will give us a break and we can get started on that. But we have received all the materials and ready to go. And I think Lonnie has got a lot of the easements.
I've got several from Appalachian Court headed toward Talking Rock, but I'm running into a problem with some of the people. They've moved to South Florida, Oregon, different places, and I'm trying to locate them now and see if we can get an easement from them.
So he's working on that.
How many do we need? How many more do we need?
Oh, to get down the road, there's probably close to 15 to 20 more to get to the end of where we're going. There's several little lots of land through there that people have bought, and some people have bought and moved off, and so it's creating a problem locating everybody.
So I don't know.
Well,
Yes, and Jim was talking the other day, and Jim were, and we were concerned about the Grandview project. Me and the mayor's talked about it before also, that what happens whenever they get to the point to where they're working and not discharging any water. And Jim would come up with the idea that, and the mayor had floated around before, the mayor wanted 100 wells in town, which I don't disagree with, but drilling another well up there at the cove. Having 3, that way we could run all 3 of them during the time that, you know, we
On
only use.
the north side of Cove Road, or on the
That's-
same side?
Well, that's where I was gonna get with you. I don't know if there's room to put another one over there, or the 2 are now, or put it over there. Would we be out of the shaft if we went over there where you had your gas tanks?
There's a, if I remember correctly, the mines have got a spine in it, and part of the water is this way, and actually we could drain the water at the existing wells, and we still have some water on the north side. That would, it just, like the mountaintop, it'll just not clear it. So I suggest still drilling the well on the other side, deeper into the property,
on the north side, deeper than the other ones.
and just have to clear a road to go up and get a well pump, a drilling rig in there.
Okay, well, I didn't talk to Lon, I talked to his partner, and Lon's supposed to call me, and he has not returned my call on an actual price yet.
And I think we can take the Georgia Marble map that, where they removed the mineral rights, or took the mineral rights, and that's how we located this location. And there's another, I think we can get surveyors to almost pinpoint it for us.
You have your old man.
He's in my office.
And, hopefully we'll have Ben, he'll have to grace that too, because CBD, to get it permitted, we'll have to have a engineer, to do that, but we can get all that started. And as far as the budget, I'm sure that's y'all's.
Your second page of your package shows a budget item to pursue water source, $50,000. We would be using that money in this.
had them, look the other day, I mean, there's no, is being owed any money out of that 50,000, Mayor, do you know? Okay.
The only thing we've done with Ben is the wastewater.
We know he went down there with us, I didn't know if he had done any actual mapping or anything. He went to the mines with us down there one time, right?
He says he had a map. I talked to his son-in-law at the dinner the other night, and his son-in-law said he had a map.
Probably the one John's got there. You share it with Ben.
Mm-hmm.
One marble company gave the city years ago.
You know, so I guess then you're just gonna ask them to approve.
Well, I don't think we can ask them to approve anything until we get the costs, but if we do have the cost, we'll present that to you. If not, we'll do it at the next meeting.
Do we want more bids than one, being ours has done all of ours really in that area?
I'd love to have more than one. We can get it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say you're getting bids, and this one may have to be carried over. I don't know if you can get bids by Monday or not, but
I'll try.
from what I see outside today, you shouldn't have a problem with water.
Well,
It ought to be available.
whenever it gets turned off, though, it changes almost immediately. As bad as it's been raining, it'll turn the other way and not rain for 21 days.
What do you think this has done to the Grandview level we looked at the other day?
They're only running one hose now.
Back down to one?
We're back down to one, and the other three were not running when I went there the other day. They're only discharging out of that one that's on the very bottom. The other three that's up on top are not discharging. And it's about the same place it was.
That gives us some time.
Yes.
David, I think that's all I got.
One thing, are you still gonna do the fence?
I've got it on here, yeah. I'll show them a drawing with that.
Okay, well, that money is also in the water plant budget. We were going to do fencing around the gas tanks and around, the generator's still not replaced, the one at well. So there is money in the water plant budget, 6,500
And this was 2,400, I think.
for fencing.
Yeah.
So there is some money there if you want to jump into it.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, buddy. Lonnie? Leak detection, paving projects, and paint thermostriping.
Okay, as far as the leak detection, I received an email from David that was supervising this, and he just says that the field operation and investigations were completed last Friday. And he also commented that he would like to say again how much of a pleasure it was to work with the city and the utility departments. And it was totally amazing how all the departments pitched in and helped as far as locating meters and valves. And then when he found something, I mean, they jumped right on them and fixed the leaks. So he was very impressed with the city for that. This is a notebook of daily reports that I got every day that he went out. The last one, the last report, they have estimated that the 30 leaks that they found was estimated at 205.55 gallons. That's the total of all of them together.
255 gallons?
205.55. And that's what they have estimated out of all 30 leaks.
205 gallons per minute? Okay.
have, if anybody wants to look at all these reports, they've also, got some where they were customer leaks or whether they were on our side of the meter. They printed out some reports as far as if they found damaged meter boxes, things like that, that we could replace at a later date. They were very complimentary that they didn't find no more leaks than what they did. And so, I mean, you have any questions about this? I mean, they actually documented 183 miles of water line. That's what we had estimated that we had due to the information that I had put into the computer. They did it in days completed on the project was 21 days that they were actually in the field.
And each leak, they took photographs, did a body of report on each one, and that was given to Charlotte for repair. She would confirm had been repaired, everything stapled together, and in the book, pretty good documentation on this. We met with them Thursday before GMA, and again, they were very complimentary of the staff, and will be presenting us with a report in a period. I don't know how long it's going to take. He wasn't real sure how long it's going to take him.
The customers who have a leak, have they been notified?
Yes, everybody's been notified. Yeah.
With the leaks.
Huh? Including the water plant.
Okay,
I wasn't going to mention it.
With the leaks,
But-
they were visible versus non-visible.
They,
They were all non-visible.
no, all of them weren't. But some of these leaks, I don't know if he's got that on the exact page or not, as far as visible or non-visible.
Because that was what I saw. And of course, that was the start of it at the very
Right.
beginning.
Right, but, at the very beginning, let's turn back here to another, see it goes back, right here it starts, you start seeing a little difference.
Okay.
But, there wasn't many that were visible, most of them were done by sound waves and things like that. They did find a few, and we did have a few leaks that happened while they were, locating or checking this, leak detector. And those, they did not take credit for it, they went ahead and put it in the report. But they said that the city'd already been notified and crews were already out there working on it and everything.
just curious. David, how many gallons of water do we pump a day?
We're right at about 1.8 to, I would say 1.8 would be a good number now on both sides.
Okay, and how much do we sell?
About 1.1.
Because we're losing 600, 700,000 gallons a day. Okay, and this is what I was trying to, and that converts to 40% daily and annually loss.
About 35,
35%.
36.
So we got 35% loss. Have you done any calculation as to what 107 million gallons a year is going to be of that 40% loss, or 35% loss?
I think a lot of them were leaks that were going to be found regardless. I mean, some of them wouldn't, maybe the one by the water plant wouldn't because it was in kudzu and.
But right now, according to this company, we're tight as a guitar string. With that, what we're getting at, what I'm trying to get at is mind your argument, who owes the other one a Pepsi? And would you explain that to the council?
Well, if you're tight, then it's the meters.
Right.
And if you're leaking like a seal, then of course it's the leaks. According to them, we're pretty well tight. And so that really leans toward the meters and the leaks too. I mean, the
Well,
leaks are
what we need
probably.
to do is do some math on this and figure out what percentage of that 7 million is going to reduce that 40% loss
But
per
what you gotta
year.
consider too though is how many of those have been found anyway.
Well, it's still,
That are figured into the total. I mean, Charlotte has
Well,
15
but
leaks.
it's still a loss at that time, so about 14% you calculate?
let's,
So we still got about 20% loss.
Well, all right,
More than that.
but their number doesn't include the 5% intake air over account.
But we haven't seen, I know you're wanting, and I would like to jump on and say, okay, we're gonna be, 205 gallons a minute less now because these guys are here. It's not true. 150, I'm gonna estimate of those leaks would have been found regardless. Would have been just on Charlotte's.
Well,
table.
that's true, it's still a loss, so. And
Yeah.
and there's probably some leaks taking place as we speak.
Yeah.
But we just found and corrected 107 million gallons a year that we would have lost otherwise.
No, we wouldn't have lost otherwise.
Okay, you think we'd have stayed ahead of it?
Yes. I think that those, most of the leaks that they found, like I say, there was maybe the one at the water plant. I don't think the one at the water plant was over 50, 75 a minute, maybe 50.
I was told 100.
Well, I mean,
I thought that was your number.
no.
What?
No, well, no matter what number you come up with, the only number that's gonna count is whenever we hit a dry period, what does the water plant go back to? And it, when it's open, I mean, you come down there and see, where we at on, after we've had 4 or 5 clear days, where does the water plant pumpage go back to? Does it show evidence of 205 gallons a minute less? I mean, personally, I don't think it will. I think a lot of that Charlotte and them would have found, the meter readers would have found, or whatever, and it would have been found anyway. But,
Did they run some tests on our meters? I thought that was part of the contract.
yes. Well,
Had they found-
on the low flow, the only thing they say it wasn't part of the contract. Only thing they done was like if there was a leak, they would listen to it and the meter wouldn't move.
Well, I thought somebody was going to do a sampling of the meters.
No, they said you'd have to have a meter testing company come in and do that.
Okay. Anyway, I think
Maybe the
107
next
million is a pretty good lick. You divide that by each of our water tanks, all are 250,000 gallons, a lot of water tanks full of water.
Oh, I ain't saying it's not a lot, it is a lot, but, I mean, Charlotte on her board every day, she's got 15 leaks every day on her board. So, I mean, that's not, an overwhelming number that they found for 21 days. I mean, because there's that many leaks going on a daily basis just about. I mean, she'll get 15 calls in one day with 15 leaks.
Okay, since we're discussing this, one more thing council needs to know is that 10 years ago, the city of Jasper put a super horse pump on a certain clear well, and we've been a seal ever since. And you have to, Jack, when it's kind of like you're having surgery, the patient bleeds to death if you don't pump blood back into them, and sometimes you got to pump more than is going out to maintain pressure. And that's what David had. Sometimes David gets caught in that circle, and we'll end up possibly blowing out a line between the water treatment plant in the kudzu patch to the railroad track. So we have a lot of different hydraulics on our system, so 40% loss may be a standard if the meters are functioning properly. Anyway, a little update.
So what are we gonna do about it? Because we're not gonna get
That
our
won't-
Keep pumping hard, keep the patient from dying.
Next is meter testing.
We have to maintain a certain pressure for High Point subdivision to get water presently.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't keep everything pressurized, then people in north of the town ain't gonna get nothing. I mean, they only get 20 pounds now. I mean, if you take that away, then, they wouldn't have anything.
How many meters do we have online? Do you know?
5,600.
Right after this.
To keep talking about. I think next step is, let's get a number that we can budget next year for meter testing.
What did this leak detection cost us?
49?
45. It was worth it. I mean, we needed to know what was what kind of shape the system was in, and
They didn't find any bypasses, illegal bypass or anything?
no, they said the county meter down there was still leaking, and we're gonna stop that hopefully within the next week or so. Down there where it was bypassing at Dragon Drive, they said that was still leaking, that 8-inch gate valve there was still leaking, but we'll put a stop to that.
What's the ballpark cost of a meter? A smart meter or whatever we would replace them with?
Smart meters? We can get them for $500.
When you turn over a meter like that, you turn around and charge the customer? No, doesn't think so.
Mm-hmm. I like a dumb meter. But those smart meters go out, and you got a $500 replacement cost, where our present meters are around $30 a piece. And so I think the Neptune meter reads well. I like it to be tested before we spend $500 on one that somebody could ride by and test. And I think you'd find probably some of the, in our 2-inch meters, we don't have that many in Jasper, but we have several. But you can lose a lot of water through a 2-inch meter, low flow. It'd be amazing what might be passing through the hospital on a larger meter, even though we did replace it recently. Those meters can drain a lot out of your system. But we talked about in the past, I think a possibility would be to break our system up into areas and have meters that would isolate, and we could check a master meter to compare it as to what we're actually using in that area. Would be a great defense against loss in an area. And plus, if you have one blow out, you're having one of the master meters overworked, you realize that's where your leak's at. We plan to do that for
Maybe
years.
that's one that could be pulled automatically.
And actually, we make a phone call back to the shop.
Georgia Power has some system where you can detect a leak at every meter sitting here in City Hall.
Yep.
That they've done for
You can do it
other
online.
cities.
They can pull them online every evening and give you an exception report. But maybe that's where you want to
Install the smart devices.
smart devices on the
Master.
master meters. And then it could give you some good information.
So ideally, how many zones or areas, if you look at the layout of the city,
Well, you got 53 going both directions. But in the water business, you like to have it to tie back in to create from having dead end situations. But I believe we could still see some activity, even though it's cross-connected. I think it'd be a great system.
Put a meter
Well,
on
this
the
company
other
does
side.
that too.
Pardon?
This company does that too. They'll section your whole system off for
But
you.
Lisa, if you could run the math tomorrow, at what, 107 million gallons a year, with what percentage it will be of the 40% that we're presently losing, since all of these have been repaired. If they hadn't been repaired and just fixed what we've seen, might be a 95 million. I think it's quite a stoppage from 1 month's work, and we're well worth $47 or $49,000.
Oh, yeah, I think it was well worth, just to, make sure you wouldn't adjust.
I still think we got a big leak out there somewhere.
But if it is, these guys are thorough. They really work.
But this tells me that I think there's one that's unaccounted for somewhere, because this is trapping a lot of it. 40% is a lot of water loss out of your system, and you can't see water. You can see, I guess, electricity or gas or whatever, I don't know, but water can just seep out and run to the nearest pit.
Ditch.
700,000 gallons a day. Going somewhere.
On the paving project,
Okay, on the paving, they were trying to get done by today. Because of the weather, they did not get it completed. They still just like, the north side of Richard Street and Louis Circle. And they're gonna do all of Stegall. And they like the part behind Jasper Road on Whitfield. They were gonna do all of Mark Whitfield, but the gas company was needing to do some work and do some cutting in the road, so we compromised with the gas company and, worked out a schedule so they could cut the road before we repaved it. So that's the only areas that we really like is, and they're gonna try to come back Monday and complete that. And then they'll be through with this bid package. The reason that we were, you know, if you remember, we were gonna do Stegall down to Dixie and stop there. But, topographical error on my part or a mismeasurement or whatever, instead of stopping at South Main Street at the four-way stop, all of Spring Street, east and west, was measured. So we ended up with extra asphalt for the same money. And the company caught that, and they came back to us, talked to Jim, talked to myself. And so we had extra asphalt that we had agreed, you know, the council had voted to agree on. So we looked at different streets, and since school's gonna be starting back, and we can finish Stegall for the difference, it won't cost us a dime above what was bid.
So milling's included?
Milling was included, everything. So we're gonna complete Stegall, so that's how come that's being changed, you know. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
So it'll save us on the backside, next time we do something.
Oh, it will, I mean, but,
We got more for our money.
And we'll go to striping, we'll just, same cost.
now striping is an extra cost.
No, I'm saying for what we measured. We're not gonna look at striping and say, well, we have to add the rest of Stegall, because we had already pre-measured that the amount is the same.
He's gonna show you a bid for striping that will include Seagull. Am I saying that correctly?
Stegall, yes.
Well, it will include all of,
Okay, this was given before the addition to Stegall. So, I tried to find time today to contact this company and get it corrected before. I will definitely do this tomorrow. But this will give you an idea of approximately what it's gonna cost. If we do with the thermoplastic striping like the mayor and I had talked about, and Jim and I had talked about, it will last probably twice or three times as long as regular marking paint. And so it is more expensive, but, you know, if we do.
That includes the crosswalks too.
That includes, yes, crosswalks, aisles, parking spaces, everything. It includes everything. And, so this figure here, the $39,284 will stripe everything. But also on this, he had striped like Railroad Street up between the depot. That's a one-lane, one-way road. That don't need, so you know, we need to alter that figure. So that's what I want to get on the phone with him tomorrow and get a new figure, but this will give you an idea of what we're going to be coming with.
Who's doing the painting?
Peak. They're the ones that can do the thermoplastic.
Sounds gonna look like a new penny with that.
Oh, it'd be beautiful. I mean, as far as good striping. And I talked to this company that done the asphalt, and Pete does a lot of striping for them, and they, you know, they had nothing bad to say about
But
it.
with that, make sure they don't make a mistake coming into town from South Main Street like we did last time. This would be off. Last time we blacked it out and painted over it. Double check that with them while they're there.
came in from South Main, you lost me.
Coming from South Main into town where the roads are, well, you got a right turn.
By the road.
And the center lane
They make a
goes
mistake, that
straight.
thermoplastic would
Yeah.
nailed, and they will if you don't watch it, because they'll black it out, and it's already gone. Just take a picture of it prior.
Today?
No, of the old layout after they corrected it, because it's hard to explain to somebody what they need to do, and we need a picture of it.
Well, that brings up a question is, do we have a schedule of how long this would take?
Okay, on the striping, I've talked to the gentleman down there. Now, from what he has indicated to me, they will send a crew up here and they will come in the middle of the night to do the parking places
Okay.
only. They will also send a regular striping truck to put a light coat of paint for all the middle lines.
Mhm.
And then they will send the big truck that's much larger because it has to heat all this thermal stuff. And they will do that in the middle of the day. And they will follow, they said we won't have to close no streets or nothing, they'll just paint it and they'll put cones out right on the line. And that is the procedure that they take.
So the parking spots themselves will be at night.
Yes, because they cannot have, you know, they said they might work around one car,
The overspray.
but they can't work around 4 or 5 cars sitting side by side. They can't make it work. And the city actually, at the recommendation of the paving company, we went up and on the curb, you'll see little white dots. That is where each line was.
Okay.
This will speed up their process, but it also says on the front sheet of their quote that the city will be liable for closing one side of town at a time. So if we have to close it in the middle of the night for them, we will close one half, they'll market the parking spaces, and then they will go back to their motel room or whatever, and then the next night, they'll do the other side. And I just want to talk, that's what I've been told, and I want to double check that and go over that with him tomorrow also, whenever I talk with him.
So we're not losing any parking spots, we can guarantee that,
From what he said, we're not, no.
because they're pre-marked, that should.
They're pre-marked, yes.
That's certainly intent.
If you go
Well,
up,
that's a huge concern for a lot of folks. Don't take one parking spot from me.
if you go uptown tomorrow and look on the curb of the sidewalk,
They're
you'll
pre-marked.
see a white spot, and you may see a blue spot, but if the blue spot is indicating that there was a handicap there.
Perfect.
So we have marked town for them as a starting place next to the curb. So we shouldn't lose anything now.
Okay. Thank you for doing that.
Now, Lonnie did talk to all the downtown merchants before this started, and they need to be commended for their for working with the city. Very few complaints. I'm real pleased with what's going on with the paving, and if we can get this striping done with the same cooperation, it'll be a wonderful thing.
If we can just ensure whenever we go to stripe, even if it's the middle of the day, we're not gonna close Main Street, we can just let those folks know.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, you're gonna see a truck out front of your shop today.
Well, that's
That
what
communication's
that's
key.
what I went.
Do you have anybody specific we'd like to talk?
No, sir. Every single one of them. I mean, that's the important part. The feedback's
I'm just
been
curious
wonderful.
if you
Yeah.
had anybody specific.
The feedback has been wonderful, and we just need to make sure our communication's clear and in advance. They
Well,
love
when I went through town, I stopped at every business that was open.
that. And I had some compliment you on that, so.
Oh, did you?
Yep.
Well, good.
Yep, so you did a good job.
But I just explained to them what was going on, and I had 2 or 3 businesses that, see, the paving company was gonna do this last Friday and last Monday. And I had 2 or 3 businesses say, please don't do it on Friday, that's one of our biggest days. So I went back, got on the phone with the paving company, talked to them, and we moved it to Monday and Tuesday. And I went back to those people that were concerned and told them what they'd said, and that we had moved it for them. And they seemed very pleased with that, so.
And some of it's closed on Monday.
And some of them
Yeah.
are closed on Monday. So, but I mean, you know, there's been complaints from different ways and social media and stuff, but the people uptown have been great.
And I think once we
And they
explain our
have.
situation on social media, people come to understand and are grateful for an explanation. It's been good.
You know, nobody has complained to me. I mean, some of them were hesitant to start with, but, they were very nice.
I had a few phone calls and referred them to you. I don't know why you didn't get the call.
I didn't get the call.
I referred them to you.
Actually,
We did, we got the
Yeah.
calls.
I mean, it has really
I got a
been, the
call.
positive feedback, I had a
Yeah.
business.
That's
start
fun to
down
get
there,
caught.
Bonnie came
Y'all
by,
don't.
and
Yeah,
he was
you can
nice
pass
enough to
them
tell us
on.
what's going on, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, there were some calls, but people read them. I was very pleased. So we'll have an updated bid for the paint and thermostriping. That'll have to be have to be voted on at Monday night's meeting.
If I can get with him tomorrow to get this all worked out and get a new bid in here, by the time we take off like Railroad Street, or we take off a couple of other things that I saw on this, you know, by the time we add Stegall, the rest of it, it may balance out, and we may be close to this figure, I don't know. But,
Is it all getting the thermoplastic?
no, just Main Street,
Okay.
just Main Street. The rest of the streets will be regular, marking.
Since you're on there, what about the match forms?
Okay, the DOT, the last time I talked with them was actually the last month that we have the Monday meeting. And they were waiting on, they were doing a study, because we had brought it up to them about the ditch in front of the Burger King. And they were doing they had their DOT engineers doing a study that they need to fix this. And they're seeing what the rate of flow is, so how many gallons and everything coming off that hill and coming out of the Parks Place parking lot and going into the ditch. And that's the reason they have hesitated about the mast arms, because if they're gonna be in that area, they wanna just do it all at one time and get it completed.
Have they done the match forms in the other counties?
No, not yet.
So we're gonna be first?
I don't know about that.
We can help.
I saw something in the paper, Gilmer, Fannin, and Pickens.
Yes.
They want to start as soon as possible. What else? Oh, big project.
Also, in last month's meeting, we all had been told that the big project, we call it to 515, would be, the bid package would be let in August of this year. He indicated at the last meeting that it will be September of 2020 before it's even let. So we're looking at another year and a half or 2 years. I mean, they've already done all the locating of utilities. That crew that was up here, they located, they dug potholes. They did a great job as far as locating stuff, and they're compiling their report now to give it back to the DOT. But unless they change it again, it looks like 2020 of September.
Closest as it ever got?
The time span's shortening a little bit.
Closest as it ever got.
And they're tearing up 369 over in Forsyth and Hall County, I can tell you.
And I believe that's what the issue is. They're paving all over the world except here.
They're in Forsyth on the back roads.
That would be county probably, but the 369 would be state.
Now, the
Right, this county.
paving crew, in case anybody gets a phone call, and for the public, the crosswalks, when they were milling, the wiring that triggers the thing, the lights to change, they got damaged. I immediately called the traffic control person with the DOT. They said that that the lights would reset themselves, especially the traffic lights, and they would work on a mechanical basis until they could get up here and put new sensors in the asphalt. So if you see the DOT up there with a saw cutting they're putting in traffic sensors and crosswalk sensors. And so they will be coming up here. He did come up here and look at everything and went back to Carsville. And so if they look like they're not working, that's why, and the DOT is already looking at way to fix it.
Okay, before we move on, How much longer do we have with SPOS?
26 years, started in 14, 20.
So 20?
We need to start thinking now about the 2020 SPOS. And I believe we can find a large portion of our wastewater treatment plant expansion in this, as our paving's gonna be caught up, we're gonna need to put some money in it. But I think you need to start putting some thought into that. And, cause the county go right by you if you don't watch it, it'll be so late. And we need our 20% again.
No doubt.
And with that, we'd be able to pay over half of our wastewater plant expansion. Still pay, still do the other projects. Just wanted to mention that today.
Great thought.
All right. John, you had given me something on pretrial probation
Yes, sir.
program, and it's in the package.
Did you get a chance to read it?
I have. I put it in the package for everybody.
I think that's our probation contract with Appalachian. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Years ago, we had private probation. Today, we work with the Appalachian Judicial System's probation system, and they bring us a contract yearly or bi-yearly. I didn't think I was so. We've signed a couple of them, so.
Yeah, I don't remember us discussing this before.
We did. No, not last year, but I
This
think
one
year before
is, goes through January 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2023. So
There you go. It's been
it's a
several years
5-year
ago.
period.
But anyway, that'll be on the agenda, and you might give the council a copy of it, and we
They
have.
have it in the package. It's in the book.
We're good. I wish we had private probation again. I used to hate private probation, but it is what it is now. We used to get a lot more community workers back in the day when we dealt with private, but I think this group's a little more humane with the victims, so.
Pays off the community service now.
Pardon?
I said they'll pay the community service off.
Well, whatever.
Some of them.
We used to have 25 or 30 on a Saturday, and now we're lucky if we get 1 or 2.
Yeah. Not much.
But other people get them. I mean, the Good Samaritans gets a lot of probation.
Garbage truck, future sanitary services. We have, I promise y'all would look at particularly the containers, rolled containers, and see if there was a possibility. And very quickly, it became apparent it's not going to work here. We have 456 trash customers. 54 of them are seniors that you consider need to have back door service like we're doing now. Housing Authority is counted as 1 unit, but it's actually 128 customers. There's no way to really drive a truck around these areas and load from the sides. To me, it just doesn't make sense to look at changing to the containers. There's something worth looking at, but I don't see it as a possible change.
Have you had an opportunity to follow one of those vehicles yet? Malden has one. They come into town with it.
Yeah, I've seen them at my subdivision
I'm not.
in Florida.
I'm not.
They make a mess.
In Florida, it's a little easier. I've watched them in Florida as well. They seem like they work a lot better. But I was behind one the other day on Hobson Road, and I had to follow it for several pickups, and it looked like a car wreck every time they crank that thing up and dump in the back, and bottles go from here to there. Not totally clean, and it'd be a pickup project, I believe, constantly.
Yeah, was something worth looking at, but became apparent pretty quickly with our
I've got
customer base.
Some South Georgia mayors swear by it, but I just don't think our locations up and down, and it's not the neighborhood areas, it's mainly main roads.
Yeah. Still leaves us with the situation, we've got two dump trucks two garbage trucks that are in different stages of disrepair. We have spent a lot of money on them in the last year. You all have that information from last meeting.
I think we put it on the big purchase last year and we decided not to do it, but it was definitely a need. I think you're seeing that now.
We either need to put it on the budget or find a way to do it now.
How much do we lose on garbage?
I don't know, Lisa, that's something I hadn't really studied. Do you have a feel toward that?
Well, I can come up with something for you, but, I mean, we pick up a lot of our own garbage too.
Exactly, we need
It's
to,
kinda hard,
you need to understand, you're also picking up Main Street and the parks. So we're not charging ourselves for that.
Right.
And we could make it mandatory that everyone who has a water meter also gets garbage collection. I know that's kind of got to buy a bigger truck, but we have several garbage companies inside the corporate. And it's our prerogative if we wanted to, we just never have exercised that because it seemed to be non-capitalistic or whatever.
And the cost would be less if they went with the city rather than.
Oh yeah, we $14 a house.
$14 per month versus $55 a quarter.
And then the other thing, if we ever approached any of the private companies to do exactly what we do?
Have not.
Yes, we have. We used to do that.
Well, I haven't done it. Let's put it.
The prices go up and it's not quite as hands-on as the city of Jasper is.
The customer service is not the same, I would imagine.
Well, I wouldn't expect it to be since we have to, we provide service for our citizens.
And it would have to be the rolled cans that
Right.
we've just said don't really fit our customers' needs.
Oh, I think you do RFP and require them to do whatever you wanted them to do. And they give you a price and there'd be accountability. You'd have to hold them accountable for what they do. But it would seem like that would save us the cost and maintenance of a truck over a long period of time, which if we do need to pick up our own garbage, it would seem that would pick up a lot of our garbage for us, but.
I know some cities have gone that route. They've even gone with the automated pickup and decided that was a horrible idea. Along with that, yeah, I don't like that idea either, especially where we're at. I agree with you, Mayor. It's not possible where we're at. So they've gone back to the manual pickup, and even limb debris removal, things like that. Those companies, they've had experience where they'll go in, write an RFP, put it out for bid. Companies come back and they can ask for certain things to be added as an option, so then the council could look at it and say, well, we want to go with this package, but not that one item on there. And our base isn't huge when you look at our services, but it might be a possibility where someone would want to pick it up, someone like Malden or Picklesheimer, whoever the local vendor would be. I believe they would all apply.
Look into the camera when you talk about this, will you? Make sure they hear every word you're saying.
So that way they'll have a fair chance.
Lisa, you're gonna come up with something on what we're losing.
I'll try to come up with something for you.
I will make a phone call to our local providers, and I think from that we can get an idea of whether we want to put an RFP out or not, and discuss that at Monday's meeting.
I wasn't gonna say much about this, but the reason we're in the garbage business, guys, is towns smell like, I'm gonna explain, they had dumpsters, they had dirty trash cans, and that's the first thing I found when I took office 27 years ago. And that's why we're in the garbage business. We could go in deeper or go in less, but we've got to pick up the garbage on Main Street, and otherwise it's going to smell like sewage. And that's why we decided we'd go in deeper. And we provide a heck of a service for the citizens of Jasper. Just a lot of people don't take advantage of it, but they should. And I think we could encourage our citizens, explain what a deal is. We never have really PR'd it, but it could, anybody who don't want it don't know what they're missing. You know, I mean, we go back, pick them back up when they say we missed it. I mean, we're hands-on, and that's something that we offer our citizens. But that's all I'm gonna say about it. Do what you
I
like.
agree, the service is wonderful.
Well, and let's not forget, John's talking about picking up our garbage on Main Street.
Absolutely.
That would have to be in the RFP, and that's one of the things I would talk to local providers about. That's gonna cost us money that we're not paying there.
We have the best.
We're paying for the labor, so, and I'm not, I mean, I want the service, but I'm confused why we would make a commitment to buy a garbage truck on a service that we might be able to have provided for us, either to break even. And if we decide that we can't do that, then I think we ought to look very seriously at going deeper in it and trying to make money at it, or at least breaking even on it. That's the only, I mean,
Looking at all the options.
I don't want to not provide the service. I agree with you 100% on the cleaning up downtown, which is very important that we keep it that way.
I'll have some more information.
Yeah,
We have
garbage.
Jay collected a lot of
one
information.
garbage truck running, and then they run a small truck trying to pick up the other ones, is that correct? Or we have?
Thursdays, they run 2 trucks.
Well, we have a smaller vehicle running through the streets at much less expensive, and we meet with a big truck and load it and carry it to the landfill. Could be done differently, but it works pretty well. Fox Run, a lot of the streets you can't hardly turn around on.
And my understanding is on Thursdays, that is their big day.
That's a big day.
They're running both trucks.
Well, it's Thursday, they're big day. Just,
They just accumulate over years as where they threw everything, get a busiest day Thursday. You have to have a busy day one day, so biggest day.
And how many do we have dedicated to that service?
For
Didn't you hire another guy the other day? Did you bring another guy into I think 5? But half a day, these guys cut grass and a few other things when they get done with the route, so.
Okay, that was my
They do
main,
the parks.
they do have
Oh, yes.
other works.
They do the parks, ball fields.
Okay.
All right. I
and they're
will bring you
working
some more
6
information.
days?
I hear the whole conversation, and it's, we need to find a way to make money at it, or not lose money.
Lose asphalt.
My next item is Cove Road parking. In your package, right after the agreement with the probation folks, and excuse the drawing here, it's not real good, but it gives you an idea. This is Cove Road, going into the Cove Road mine. We have issues with parking, both at the water intake there on the side coming back into the side of the road coming back into town, and some road going into a residence area on the road coming out of Jasper. People wanting to go in and fish the area. The sodded line you see across is where the gate is right now. The broken line is an area that we could go and extend the fence and provide parking for maybe 12 to 15 cars and get people off the road. We have a,
So is town this way?
no.
Town's this way? So this is
Yeah,
across the
line's
creek?
right there.
Got the line. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
All right. We've got a quote for $2,400 to put that in. there is a budget item David mentioned earlier for some fencing around the tanks that were removed a couple of weeks ago. With your all's permission, I would like to go ahead and get this done. Just seems like a good idea.
How much
And
distance
still
is
give
that?
access to the folks for the community garden. How much
What type
more?
of distance or length is this from proposed to existing?
It's flagged, but I did not measure it, but it is flagged out there.
Because people park everywhere out there.
Yeah. It's,
Now that-
it's a hazard,
2,400 is just for fencing?
labor and materials. and
Does
it's
that
all
include
fencing.
signage? Or is that something we incur?
I really wasn't thinking about much signage in there. What are you thinking,
Well, I know we had the
parking
issue with,
spots with it, or?
well, no, we had the issue with the parking, blocking that residence and putting signage there, no parking.
Yeah,
Is that already in existence?
that's already there.
Okay.
And how much did you have in budget, David, for fencing?
6,500.
6,500, this is 2,400.
And I'm not sure it would be a bad idea to at least have some signage for parking, just to let people know.
I think we get it in and decide what signage
Yeah.
and put it up. That's not a big cost. And I don't know that we need a vote on that, but that's more for information than anything, unless somebody's got a real heart bleed over us doing it.
As a courtesy,
Yeah, this is a courtesy to
the entire community.
All right. Planning and Zoning Commission action. We've been asked by some of the property owners to have some time to discuss the annexation of property beyond Sharptop Ridge. Gentlemen, I do ask you, we are in an hour and 15 minutes of this meeting, and I've got a few more agenda items after this. So I do ask you, be as kind to our
We'll be short.
meeting as possible.
Yeah, we will. We can bring.
So at the last meeting, they asked for, the table of this, and asked for an adjournment so that we could come up with a little bit more information. And we thought we would. I met once before, we talked about the zoning, and I pointed out discrepancy on the zoning. And I found out that that discrepancy reaches to the application that was submitted. But I sent out an email to some of them, and here's a little background on one of the topics in that. It is the sequence forming the corporation. It's called Sharptop, or the Ridge at Sharptop Mountain, LLC. And what I call it was, you have to pay interest on this, but they have a balloon note January the 1st, 2021 for $600,000. That may not be unusual. And they do have the wrong county in that section, the second page there is the deed to secure debt. They have Gilmer County, but they do have the right address. The right address is 0 Burnt Mountain Road, and as we all know, 911 Center does not generally issue a street number until there's a permit issued. So it's 0 Burnt Mountain Road, and I think that's important. Since 364 Sharptop Ridge Road does not exist, I'm concerned that it shows on the application that that is for the address for the parcel, and it's not. Burnt Mountain Road is the address for the parcel.
And also on the signage too.
Yeah, you know, here, this, if you look at it, Mr. Dover owns 111 acres, and he wants to build a single family on Sharptop Ridge Road and have one hell of a backyard. And that's not, I mean, that is factually not right. And for the last couple of years, I've been dealing with the county on some few things. And I know how important words are when it comes to zoning and ordinance. And I just want to make sure that if this zoning is approved and goes through, that it has nothing to do with 364 Sharptop Ridge Road in the zoning. It's 0 Burnt Mountain Road is the address. So that, I don't know what, if it has to be rewritten or whatever, but they, at the planning commission, you remember that they happened to put a sign up on the easel, caused a little bit of confusion. I don't believe in accidents. I believe that sign was put up there and it had Sharptop Ridge Road for the subdivision. And he said, oh, I didn't expect to get such a pushback. But I think it's in his mind that if this is approved, he'll come in with the same plan and lay it down, because that's what I showed you the first time. And I want to make sure that whatever is done here, that it does not include any plan that they talked about. So if you have any questions about the...
Yeah, it's just a little research, looking at the actual deeds and the contracts here. Here's page 2.
And it just points out that the actual address is on Burnt Mountain Road. But our goal here is to try to protect the citizens and the future residents. And we need to look at the traffic flow. That's my understanding that Burnt Mountain Road and Cove Road are not state roads. They're county roads. So anything that's made, the county has to approve it and go with it. And the less traveled road is the Burnt Mountain Road. And generally that's accepted as the safest way to go. And there's another thing that's a proven fact. Any subdivision that has an identity to it, well landscaped and a private entrance, is worth more than if you go through a 50-year-old subdivision and add a few buildings at the end of it. I remember most people, when they buy their first home, they're proud of it. I mean, I don't know if you remember, you're proud of it. So you'd say, well, I bought this out there at Sharptop Ridge, and well, it's a little confusing to tell you how to get there. You go out Cove Road, and you take a left, and you drive out this road. Well, it's out there. Or you can go down Burnt Mountain Road. There's the sign, the entrance. We have a private subdivision up here. And it will sell for more money, and they can make it. But my other objection to the Sharptop Road is I drive that road every day. And it's curved, and sometimes if you meet a truck, somebody's got to back up. And that light, have you been on that road lately? It goes down at the very back, it goes steep, it makes an 80-degree turn to the right. And these concrete trucks that come in there, they weigh about 63,000 pounds apiece. And they're on a time schedule, so they're going to come in there and go as fast as they think they can. And if somebody is trying to come out of there, I'm afraid that there might be an accident there because you just can't control it.
Or even meeting them on the road together and pass.
Somebody's got to back up.
Yeah.
That road is just that way. Another problem that we might have is how long does it take to complete a subdivision? You may know the one up here at 136 in Burnt Mountain. I think these folks had something to do with that. There's 33 lots in there. They started in 2008, and it's gated, so according to the Pew Public, there's 3 to 4 houses built. Now, that's 10 years, and there's still like 29 lots. So we wouldn't know how long it would take to complete this 20-lot thing. And I don't know the gentleman at all, so it's nothing personal. But I'm just asking you, when you have somebody to come in and start a subdivision, do you vet them? Do you do research on it? So that we're not left with a half-empty bucket out there? I don't know. It's nothing personal, I don't know. But I think it would be good to find out because they're doing a subdivision up in LJ right now. They went to the commission in January. It's at McCutcheon and Barclay Road. And they wanted to put multi-housing, what it's called, like 2 or 3 families to condos or whatever it might be. Well, the commission turned them down because the road wouldn't stand it. So they come back a month later and say, well, we'll go with R1. So they run into objections occasionally. There's 22 acres, they paid $300,000 for it. So they went from multifamily down to an R1, and they had to come up with that money somewhere. So is there any question on this sheet that you may have?
And this next handout, we won't spend any time on it, but it's just a little checklist between Burnt Mountain Road and Cove Road, you know, yay or nay on either side. And I think if you go through it and really think through each one, it will be overwhelmingly Burnt Mountain Road would be the more positive entry. And again, we don't have to spend any time on that. The next page here, I'm going to show you guys. So one of the things I asked for was let me go out and try to get an engineer and get a rendering done. And I called 4 engineers that work this type of space, and they were a minimum of 8 to 12 weeks out for us to do that. And knowing the next council meeting, I did not think that would be a wise decision to go forward. So therefore, I did get somebody, a colleague of mine, who happens to be in this industry and they do this kind of work, to look at the topo map and come up with an alternate entrance for us. So if you look at this right here, here's the map as it stands today. There's 2 of them. And I can let you guys pass this around. So here's the map as it stands today. So here was the rendering. And what he said that he thought would be the best way to go about this would be here's Burnt Mountain Road, here's basically that layover, that one kind of lay over it. So the way they want to come in right now is, guys, as we know, is right here, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's what our rendering guy is saying. Come in here and up around this side. If you do that, this is what it comes out to look like.
That's what
So,
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
so here would be the entrance here. You would actually pick up a couple more lots coming in from the Bird Mountain way. He also said that grade right there, based on the topo map, is somewhere around 10%, a 10% grade. So it's not above 15 or anything else like that. He had mentioned that the cost per square foot is about $100.
a foot.
Is it a foot? Which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $100,000 to come in this way versus coming in back here, which is our street here. So that's kind of the crude rendering of what we could get prior to the council's meeting there. Would you like to have this? Okay. There's another one, sorry, sorry about that. And one last thing, we have 2 last things real quick. So here's a crude cost estimate, and this is actually going to be on the low side of, and Ken, if you don't mind, you want to go through it real quick, how you came up with these numbers, buddy?
Well, to come off the Burnt Mountain Road, you can ask more. We're asking 17,000 an acre on Sharptop Mountain. There's a lot there for sale for $9,000. You could certainly increase it because of the quality. It all depends on, if he tries to get by on the cheap, something will work. He can make a nice entrance, and I counted 16 homes of the 1.5 acre, that's come to like 3,900,000, and 7 homes with 3 acres, another couple of million. So you're talking about a $6,300,000 project. And there's no reason why you can't find $100,000 to build the road and make it look good, and he could even gate it if he wanted to. There's not many gated communities in Jasper. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
Did he, just correct me, did he say that these were going to be cottage-style homes designed around for empty nesters and retired type folks?
I think he said cottage style, and I don't remember about the,
I believe it's just
Empty
cottage
nesters.
style, single family.
The planning
They were
department told
300,000.
me that he's going to build $300,000 to $400,000 house.
right, that's what he said, 300,000.
He said 300,000.
So this is on the lower side.
Yeah, we're at 244, 5, and it could be $100,000 more than that if that's
But
true.
1,400 square feet houses is not going to cut it. The ratio of house versus lot. You need to, there's a saying out there, you got to give people the opportunity to turn it down. You can't make decisions. And if you sell into lot, and then what kind of house do you want to build? I hope they're not building spec houses, it's built this way, but I'm going to change it, I'm going to turn it this way. It doesn't work. People are individuals. If they're going to spend their money, they want what they want. And it can work. And it could be an excellent place.
All right, this is the summer, Jim.
Well, yeah, I know you're running over. I'm not going to go over it. The reason I brought it up, I've asked about planning commission down here. And they said maybe they'll have a public hearing, maybe they won't. My feeling is this: if it's approved, and the guy comes in and lays down this plan that he did before, and they said, wait a minute, we want you to come off Burnt Mountain Road. And he said, well, that's going to cost me $100,000. Huh. Okay. No. I think I'm asking you to put a little pressure on them and say, we recommend Burnt Mountain Road for everybody concerned. And he can make it work.
Do we know if he'll bring an alternative? Any
Oh,
alternative?
that was a question I had for y'all, is have y'all reached across the table
To the
and met with them and discussed it
Well,
with them?
At the planning meeting, Mr. King sat behind me.
Mhm.
And I just passed my folder back to him, and he put down his phone number and his email address. The next day I emailed him and said, I appreciate the contact, and let's keep in touch. He said he would. Well, I haven't heard anything,
Mhm.
So hopefully, it's, sometimes
Yeah, I think
developers
that-
have blinders on.
I think the very last thing that was asked to him was from you, and I think you said, will you please think of or consider some alternatives? I
And
think-
safety.
And he said, I think he said, yeah, he would. So I'm just asking, do we know if he did?
We haven't heard anything. I haven't had any kind of contact with him at this point.
I don't know of any contact.
So, but yeah.
At City Hall.
The question I have, and I don't know the answer, Kevin, is, the annexation, it seems, is pretty straightforward. If you look at the laws that govern annexation in the state, this is a landowner who is contiguous with the city and he wants to be annexed. And so there's an obligation of the city, if we annex, to put some sort of zoning in place on or about the time that we annex it. And so the question is, can we then hold him accountable to some standard other than our current planning and zoning regulations? And I mean, I don't know the answer to that. We can make recommendations to him. Bill, Commissioner Newton had mentioned a bond on the road. The road is going to be in jeopardy with the traffic. I mean, that's what I feel. Others may feel otherwise. I don't know that we can even hold him accountable for a bond to repair our road or improve it up to the
Well,
standards.
that's already in the ordinance. You can go up to 10%.
Okay.
Cash bond.
I'll say
Let's,
this, the reason we're even here in the first place, I know for a fact that you guys would repair the road. If something was damaged, it would get fixed. Either the city would step up or the developer would step in to make it right. At least that's the world I live in.
Right.
So I don't think any of us on our street is that concerned that if the road is damaged, that it's never going to be fixed again. It truly, the only reason why we're here, and now we're bringing up a lot of different issues of quality of life and all that, but it's truly that safety aspect of it, and having those trucks entering on that street, and I know increased traffic is not even an argument, so I'm not even going to bring up increased traffic. That's not an argument, a winnable argument. But I would just say the safety aspect of entering that road, and while you're on that road, having those construction trucks come in there is going to really, in my opinion, put some of our neighbors in jeopardy, just from a pure safety standpoint. And it's up to us now to come up with alternatives.
So I don't know if during the permitting process, we could say that that road's not safe enough to
Mayor?
withstand.
Well,
this.
can I ask a question?
We're supposed
Don't
to-
take it wrong.
Yeah.
Does the city have a clause give you immunity to lawsuits?
Some do.
Some do. Now, here my question. They could be, I'm serious. Those trucks, I've been around them long enough that they're on a time schedule, they loaded and they gonna go. And they're feeling good. And you ought to see, if they have to get off the side of the road, it could be another 30 or 40 feet down. Or they could hit into a car and there'd be a lawsuit, and it would be the developer, the concrete company, and the city of Jasper.
So federal and state law governs what we're exposed to. Yes.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it governs what we're
Well,
exposed to.
some cities can have a clause that you can't be sued or what, but,
That's governed by state and federal law, whether you're immune or not. And the specifics of the circumstance are way beyond a meeting like this.
Yeah.
And it involves engaging experienced, knowledgeable attorneys to
Let me
determine.
ask you this, Dr. Proctor. Is there any chance we can delay it one more time to actually pay for and have, if the developer doesn't believe this, which, is not a true rendering, it's just, it's truly a drawing based upon the topo map, and the feet in between the lines represents the steepness of the, I mean, there's no way possible coming off of Old Bird Mountain. That's way too steep. This is really the only entrance into this property feasible other than our street. So I made that offer. I don't know if you guys if you would be willing to, if you want me to spend the time and the money. Our neighbors are nice enough that they said they'd kick in some money and not let it all be on me, which I really appreciate. But there's no way I had the time. I didn't have 12 weeks. I didn't have 8 weeks.
Well, the issue is even if what you were asking, and we don't know the possibility of that sitting here, it would be for another 30 days, first Monday of each month. So that would be a hard pressed time. Who offered this rendering professionally?
Colleague of mine at Shepherd Construction Company.
Okay.
or we could just make a decision and say the entrance is off Burnt Mountain Road. And he's got a choice. I'll continue or I can't.
I don't know that the council's empowered to, on one decision, deciding where the entrance would be or not. I don't know that we are or that we're not.
Yeah, that
But
goes
we're
to
supposed to have some safety from the police chief.
Generally,
to come back.
it says the less traveled road is accepted. Now, the county has less, if there's a choice, if it's a corner lot, and they can say the less traveled road would be the spot to go.
Yeah. It would seem if he's picking up lots, it would be attractive to him.
Yeah.
But I don't know what he indicated he had plans for development of the rest of the
Right,
property.
there's a bunch of other land back,
Right.
I guess past this creek.
I added up the lot acreage, out of the 111 acres, he's selling 63.
Well, he admitted, not that it took an admission, but he disclosed that he had plans for developing the rest of the property.
Yeah, okay.
And I believe, like you, we all want to see, you said that whether the city would fix the road or not is not the question. We understand we would do what is right and what is good. And that's, I believe, everyone's mentality going into this is, that's why I asked, have you reached across the table? That teamwork and that going back and forth with the developer is going to be what is good and best for everyone. We certainly want to see the
Well, we're
teamwork.
willing to talk with him.
Yeah, the one problem that I have, we've been in multiple meetings here already with this developer, and they are not serious at all about changing their entrance. Why would they? When they have a free road to come in on, already have the water and power. Also, I'm not against piping in from our street, for the water and for the electricity. I'm not against any of that. Bring it on. I don't care. We'll have to create a nice little station up there for those guys. We're strictly talking about an alternate entrance based on safety. That's
As
it.
far as the delay, I don't know, there may be a time frame that we have to act upon. I think it's probably tied to the actual annexation, but or possibly to the day of the public hearing, but I don't know that, Kevin. So.
Well, I appreciate the time, and I do think it's a teamwork. And, when everybody was asking good questions the other night with these guys, one way or the other, I feel like we're all on the same page. I know that you recently campaigned on that street, so you had a little bit of a quicker, different opinion about it. So that made me feel pretty good. And
Well, I have a bad opinion of it. My accountant used to live on that street before Ken Austin bought that house out.
okay,
It
What
wasn't
is the
always.
width of that street?
Ken, is it 19? The width of the street?
19 feet.
I believe we discussed it.
The asphalt's 19
Okay,
feet.
I knew we
Now
discussed, I
it's
couldn't remember.
22 current roads.
Up to Paul Archer, should be able to.
Lonnie, what's the width of the
Standard
road?
width for code for road.
What's the right of way on that road?
That road's about 50 feet
Right of
as
way?
far as the right of way. I mean, the right of way goes over into some of the landowners' yards.
What's the right of way mean? What does that mean?
That's city owned property.
Well, you can tell the water meters on the right of it. Within the
And
right.
your rose bush is too, probably.
But where I live, I can see them coming and going on that curve. And I thought, because, well, that's good.
Well, thanks for your time.
Well, I encourage you, if you're able to tomorrow or sometime before Monday, reach out, see if you can communicate with them.
Particularly with some of us going to give them a couple of lots.
Yeah, something that will appeal to them.
Let me ask you, would anybody like to keep this one, or you just want to keep these renderings?
I'm sure Mr. Lincoln probably will.
This is the overlay. This is the overlay one to the, here's the overlay to the actual.
Okay, thank you.
And all this printed stuff, you make copies, right? This stuff, give us each one on these.
Yes.
I know, and see what he comes back with, and also the base he comes back with, as far as the safety that he wants to bring us.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thanks,
I
guys.
have one question. I've traveled 136 from Chatsworth for years. And when you get to 515, it says Jasper that way. And then when you get up a little further, it says Talking Rock that way. And there's not a sign that says Jasper Business District that way.
On 136.
I'm trying to think which intersection.
From Chatsworth. Come from Chatsworth. No, I was wondering why.
You want me to tell you why?
Hmm?
You want me to tell you why?
Why?
In 1985, there was a court case, and the state wanted to come through Pickens County with a reasonable amount of resistance, but they found a heck of a lot of resistance on right-of-way purchases. And the county commissioner at that time was on the side of the landowners and cost the state of Georgia quite a bit of money. And the state of Georgia, the director at the time of the DOT basically took city of Jasper and Pickens County off of any of the maps, from Dahlonega to Dawsonville. You can find how to get to Gilmer County, but you couldn't find Jasper. That's a true story.
But
Told to me by a DOT representative.
GPS has got Jasper on it.
That had nothing to do with Georgia DOT.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you holding time. All right.
Commissioner.
That takes us to an offer from Entegra Bank. Go back to our drawings. You all know this property. It's the old drive-through on Main Street and DB Carroll. We have an offer from Entegra Bank to sell us that property for $100,000. They also mentioned some willingness to finance, some options with that. There are, of course, other options to finance. It, in my mind, could give, I'm going to stay light. I'm going to say 15 to 18 parking spots on that end of town. There is also restroom facilities in that building that could be utilized. And the glass front could be used as an area for visitor brochures and so forth. The drive-throughs could either be torn down or remain with maybe some seating underneath them, tables. It's got some opportunities for the city. Is this something y'all would like to discuss in a meeting and come up with a decision?
Yes.
Put that on the agenda for Monday night, if there's not any. Any questions about it, or would you rather have the questions at the meeting?
Just out of curiosity, square footage of the existing facility, just maybe on Monday, if you don't have it already, of what's already existing for the restrooms and all.
Yeah, I'd have, that I did not measure, and I will do that.
There's a teller station, and there's a single restroom that was probably ADA or what the equivalent was at the time, but it wouldn't be now, I don't think.
Yeah,
that's
and
fine.
it would take some ADA.
Well, that's
work.
why I ask is, how much room are we working with if we wanted to redo?
There's a kitchenette, there's a little small, just get the square footage.
I'll get you square footage, but it's got some room we could work with. ADA is workable. Next page. Sue Stevens came to me since the last meeting. Family has property on both sides of North Main Street that runs from the area that Revolution Church is building on down to the Lee Newton Park. That is, and here's a much larger drawing if you're interested in looking at it. That piece of property is 21.75 acres across the road, marked as another partial of 8.12 acres. Is that something that you would be interested in? I know that at one time, the city was interested in getting an easement to put cart path through the back of the smaller partial. How long ago would that have been, John?
2, 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
What is the price of
It's 47,300 per acre.
Was this the resistor to doing that?
Yes, it was, and I just noticed that the tip of it is the only hindrance between
Is that the
Harbor
railroad
Hills
right
and downtown. I always thought it was parallel with it. Didn't you, Lonnie?
I thought it was more parallel with the tracks.
there?
There's a
She didn't own, maybe she owns that corner, that angle there too.
Here's, John, here's a better drawing.
This is the fire department, correct?
Well, there
Yes.
is some, quite a bit,
Can we
don't
own
show
this
them
land
this
here?
though. It's not
This is the fire
at all.
department.
Yeah,
Mayor, do you know, the fire department on that map, do we own the land between that current existing fire department and the proposed land?
yeah. These are the property lines.
Yeah, it's,
We don't have this would not be included. So
it looks
that
contiguous.
drawing will have the property owner on there.
That's the fire department right
Yeah.
there.
Do you know if we own this section right there?
I believe it goes back here, that property.
So it's about to.
Let me show you here.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep getting the light.
Yeah. There's fire station,
So this is.
City
us
of
right
Jasper with a housing through the Housing Authority and Revolution Church. So,
Okay. Their proposals for the entire piece, they want the piece out?
I have not discussed that with her.
Okay.
I haven't tried to
And
negotiate.
there was one, this does not show that, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't show.
this boundary here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got a point. You go straight in, it's a three-pointer.
That was all too public.
Futuristic thinking.
So, yeah, so Dalton's right down here, that's
How
fine.
old is that fire department? The building?
1990.
As Jasper grows, there's always a need for new facilities. Do we have room to expand and
That,
we ever
that
would-
that wouldn't be the location we'd want to build it at, I don't think.
okay.
There is a need for a second fire station.
Well, and that's why I was
To serve
asking, just to
515.
make sure that that wasn't, yeah.
We-
And I agree that's not the
minor
location. I just want to make sure we all were on the same
I
page.
just want to make sure I knew it wasn't the right location.
Make sure you agree.
Okay.
That's true.
30 acres, 47,
How much was it?
40,
One month, one
four
month.
now.
Do that total?
You'll have enough back.
1.4, John.
About 50,000.
Expensive golf cart.
Something to think about, and is that something we would like to discuss at a meeting now or in the future?
Not this one for me.
The last thing is everybody's trying to sell the city or give the city property. I had a discussion with Bernice Jones, the McClure family, to donate property on Richard Street to the city to be used as a city park. Idea of calling it is across the church, across the road from Friendship Church. She was talking about possibility of
church here?
naming, yeah,
Yes.
naming it, I believe it's partial 81 on there.
Gotcha.
Lonnie, check me and make sure that that's right. Can you look at this with me?
He's checking on
He's
you.
checking on the computer.
Where's the property in this one?
Right next to the Habitat House on
Next to
Levy
the,
Right
Circle.
there.
91.
yeah, I think it's partial 81.
They want to donate that?
Yes. For use as a park, restricted use.
How much is it, land?
She said it was 80 by 80, but the Q Public has, looks like.
Yeah, .44, I couldn't tell what that was.
The Richard Street side looks like it's 68 on Q Public.
Yes, parcel number J12081, it's .14 acres.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you say .14?
Yes.
That's a small part. Cell tower on it.
Now, the people who are donating then, do they live next door?
No, I think next door is a
Habitat house.
Habitat property.
Oh, going, on Richard Street.
What, 80?
Well, yeah, I see it's L shape. Next door to that, is that the owner? Or they're from out of town? You said
I believe
McClure.
this is in the McClure family,
Okay.
so it's, I'm sure there are some in town and out of town.
Did they approach us or did we approach them?
They approached me, called me.
Did they have a vision
Yes.
for what they'd like to see?
They would like to see it as a friendship park, named Friendship Park, and they're developing some ideas.
That's Thelma's family, huh? Is that right? Thelma McClure. Is that her family?
I'm not sure.
You know, John?
I'm afraid to say.
You know what?
She was a driver from this right before. Ever and ever,
All right. How about if I continue
Let's,
discussing this with Ms. Jones and report back?
So long there, but if they've got a vision, a vision of what they've got.
can't remember what's there now, nothing.
Just wood.
It kept up.
All right. With that, I believe I've worked through my items, additional items from mayor and council.
If I might, and that map you're looking at, if you'll look back at it, Jim, I'm sure you've had a phone call about the debris that has been moved into the property there at the corner behind Friendship Church.
Yes.
What's happening?
PD has had a discussion with them, and we expect that to be resolved by the end of next week.
I rode by there and he made a heck of a mess with boats and tearing down RVs. It looked like he was in business, so. The families in that area were calling me and
Yes.
you got it.
I got some calls also, and I have talked to,
Jeff McCowan.
yeah.
A few of us have phone calls.
You got the phone call from him?
No.
Okay. I was gonna get mad at him. I thought I was the
I'm
only call.
anytime I get called, I'm giving them their number.
They do. I don't think they need it.
384 square
Take
feet.
my business cards, I'll put your number on it. Do you have them yet?
Got a picture of it?
That's I'm guessing that's Entegra,
Yeah, that's the
the 384 square feet.
384 square feet.
Oh. I was gonna give you a phone.
64 feet, I think, square feet.
Anything else from mayor and council?
Good job.
Thank you all very much.